You woke up today carrying a pain that no one around you can see. You smiled at your children during breakfast, replied to messages in the family group chat, and went to work pretending that everything is fine. But inside, something has been tightening in your chest for weeks, perhaps even months. And the worst part is that you cannot even explain exactly what it is. It is an exhaustion that sleep cannot cure, a sadness without a clear reason, a feeling that you are doing everything right, fighting every day, and yet life remains stuck. The bills keep piling up. Your health is showing signs of strain. The people you love seem more distant than ever, and you start to wonder deep in your soul if God has forgotten you. I need you to listen carefully to what I'm about to say, because this could change everything. God is saying at this very instant that He knows every detail of your pain. This is not a pretty phrase to cheer you up. It is not cheap motivation. It is a spiritual truth that few are prepared to receive. And in the next few minutes I will show you exactly how He is acting in your favor right now, even when everything around you seems to be in absolute silence. You will understand the signs you have been ignoring for a long time. You will discover why this phase of hardship is precisely the proof that something great is being prepared for you, and you will leave this video with a certainty in your heart that you perhaps have not felt in years. But for this to truly work, I need you to watch until the end, because the most important part, the part that unlocks your spiritual life, comes later. And it was not an algorithm that put this video on your screen today. It was guidance. Soon you will understand why. Look at the last few months of your life. People drifted away without a clear reason. Doors that seemed open suddenly closed overnight. Old friendships grew cold. Things that always worked stopped working out of nowhere. And you find yourself wondering what you did wrong. The answer is hard, but it needs to be said. You did nothing wrong. God simply began to prune your life. He is cutting off dead branches to make room for new fruit. And no one warned you that it would hurt so much, because most people only talk about the blessing, but hide the spiritual price of reaching it. And here is the point that needs to go deep into your heart right now. You are not watching this by chance. You were led here. There has been restlessness within you for weeks, a small voice bothering you in the depths of your consciousness, a weight in your chest that appears whenever silence arrives. Many people feel this, but very few understand what it means. God is calling you to a greater spiritual responsibility, perhaps to protect your family from something that is coming, perhaps to reconnect with Him before an important turning point occurs. That is why I prepared a powerful digital book for you, titled How to Know If God Will Save You in the Final Judgment. The link is pinned in the description right below and also at the top of the comments. Hundreds of Brazilians who are exactly in the phase you are in today have sent me messages saying that this book opened their eyes to signs they had ignored for years. Marriages were restored, children returned, diagnoses changed. This content may be taken offline at any moment, and I do not want you to miss this door. Get it now. And if this message is truly touching you, comment the word Amen below and stay with me until the end. Now that you are truly here with me, I need to explain something that very few people are willing to speak about clearly. God's silence is not abandonment. God's silence is strategy. When you pray, and it seems like no one is listening, when you cry in the bathroom hidden from your family, and feel as though you are casting words into a void, when you ask for a sign and the sky seems closed, know that this has an ancient biblical name. It is called the test of faith. And this test is not for God to know who you are. God already knows. This test is for you to discover who you have become in the midst of the pain. Hardly anyone notices this, but there is a gigantic difference between God being silent and God being at work. Think of a mason erecting a house. He does not keep talking to every single brick. He places it, aligns it, and waits for it to set. And the brick, if it could feel, would think it had been forgotten in the wall. But the mason is right there, with his hands dirty with mortar, building a structure that the brick alone could never perceive. You are the brick. God is the builder. And this phase of apparent silence is precisely where He is working most intensely in your life. Perhaps you are going through a financial crisis that never ends. You look at the bank account at the end of the month, and your stomach turns. You juggle bills, pay one, delay another, and it seems like this wheel never stops turning. You pray, you tithe, you offer with faith, and yet it seems nothing changes. Then comes the most dangerous thought of all. Maybe I am not worthy. I want you to erase this thought from your mind right now. God does not work with merit. God works with purpose. And His purpose for your life, in many cases, requires that you pass through the valley before arriving at the mountain. It was that way with Joseph in Egypt, sold by his own brothers. It was that way with David in the desert, fleeing from Saul for years. It was that way with Job in total loss, sitting in the ashes. And it is being that way with you now. Perhaps the pain is not financial. Perhaps it is relational. Your marriage has become a routine without affection. You share the bed, but sleep back to back. Your children grow distant, lost in their phones, in their own lives, and you feel that you have lost the key that once opened the heart of the child who slept on your lap. Your elderly parents need more and more care, and you stretch yourself thin to handle everything, with no one to handle you. And when the house finally falls silent at night, that is when the pressure hits with full force. I know, I see this in the lives of thousands of people who write to me every day. And this is exactly where the part that needs to transform your mind comes in. God knows every detail of this pain, each one. He knows the exact hour you wake up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling. He knows the name of every person who has hurt you. He knows the bill that is overdue and its exact amount. He knows the illness that does not yet have a diagnosis. He knows the child who is drifting away. And more than knowing, He is already acting. But He acts in His time, not ours. And that is exactly where the test lies, in the space between the request and the answer. Stop trying to understand with your head what can only be felt with your soul. If this message is opening something within you, it is because God is calling you to a decision today. That is why I have prepared a powerful digital book for you, How to Know If God Will Save You on Judgment Day. It is in the link in the description and at the top of the comments. Get it now, before this spiritual urgency turns into regret. Your family needs you to awaken today, not tomorrow. Now I must lead you to a truth that will shake the foundations within you. There is a gargantuan difference between purposeless pain and pain with a mission. Pain without purpose is the pain of the world, the pain that destroys, the pain that isolates, the pain that sinks. Pain with a mission is the pain that God allows because it is forging you for something that only you can do. And here in Brazil, with everything we go through, it is very easy to confuse the two. Think of that woman who lost her husband early, was left alone with 3 small children, washed clothes for others, took odd jobs, slept poorly, ate little, and today sees her children graduated, working and raising their grandchildren with dignity. Ask that woman if her pain was useless. She will tell you that every tear from that time had a destination. Every sleepless night was planting an invisible root. What seemed like ruin, God was using as a foundation. You can be that person right now. Your season of hardship may be exactly the soil where God is burying the seed that will change the history of your family for entire generations. But for this to happen, you must stop fighting the phase and start asking yourself what God is building within you through it. The right question changes life. Instead of asking why this is happening to me, start asking what this is happening for. There is a phrase I like to repeat a lot, because it heals. God never wastes a pain, never. When you go through a betrayal, He is teaching you discernment. When you go through a loss, He is teaching you detachment from things that are not eternal. When you go through humiliation, He is teaching you true humility, not the feigned one of the stage. When you go through a financial desert, He is teaching you real dependence on Him, not on your own strength. And when you go through a spiritual silence, He is teaching you to listen beyond the noise of the world. There is detail of the biblical story that almost no one mentions. When Elijah was at the height of his depression, wanting to die under the juniper tree, exhausted, defeated, without strength for anything else, God did not send an army of angels with trumpets. He sent only one angel with bread and water. He said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." In other words, the journey is still long, but you will not die here. And that is exactly what God is telling you today. You will not die in this phase. You will not sink in this anguish. You will not lose your family to this crisis. But you must rise and eat the bread that He is offering, which is the Word, which is true prayer, which is the reconnection with the sacred within you. Another thing that needs to sink in. The vast majority of Brazilians living in prolonged suffering have one characteristic in common. They have stopped praying with real expectation. They pray out of habit, they pray out of guilt, they pray out of fear. But they have stopped praying believing that something will actually happen, and this closes a very important spiritual channel. When you pray without faith, it is like turning on the shower with the main valve closed. The water is available, but it does not reach you because the path is obstructed. And who obstructs this path most of the time is your own disbelief disguised as fatigue. You have become accustomed to thinking that your life will always be this way, that there will always be a lack of money at the end of the month, that the marriage will always be cold, that the rebellious child will never return home, that the diagnosis will never improve. And when you get used to defeat, without realizing it, you are rejecting the victory that God is preparing in your name. The good news, and this is the part you perhaps need to hear most today, is that God does not give up on those He has chosen. You may have given up on God many times. I myself have given up before, but God never gives up first. He waits, He insists. He places people in your life, videos like this on your screen, phrases in random sermons, dreams during the night, sensations in the middle of the day, all to remind you of just one thing. I am here. I have always been here, and I am acting in your favor right now, even when you cannot see it. And it is exactly because He never gives up on those He has chosen that this message reached you today, at the time it did, in the exact moment you are going through. Think about it. You could be doing anything else right now, but you are here, listening to every word, with a heavy heart, feeling that something inside you is being touched by a hand that is not human. This has no rational explanation. This is God placing His finger on the exact spot of your wound. And many people feel this touch, but few respond. Most close the video, go back to their routine and push the calling for later, and later often never comes. That is why I need to tell you with all the sincerity of my heart that you were placed where you are today because you have a spiritual mission with your family. You are the bridge. You are the one who needs to open this path for those who come after. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, How to Know If God Will Save You on Judgment Day. The link is pinned in the description below and at the top of the comments. People write to me every day saying that this material was the turning point of their spiritual lives. Mothers reconnected with children who seemed lost. Marriages that were at their end were restored. Diagnoses changed out of nowhere. But to receive it, you need to decide now. This content may be removed without warning at any moment, and I do not want you to lose this opportunity. Comment down below, I accept, if you are ready to answer this divine calling today. Now let us go to the most practical and transformative part of this video, because I do not want you to leave here only emotional. I want you to leave truly equipped. There are specific actions, concrete spiritual attitudes that unlock what God is already doing for you behind the scenes. And I will give them to you now one by one, without delay. The first thing you need to do, and perhaps it is the hardest of all, is to accept where you are. Not conform, but accept. There is a difference. To conform is to say, all right, I deserve this suffering. I will live like this forever. That is spiritual poison. To accept is to say, I recognize that I am here. I will not pretend that I am not. And I trust that God is using this place for something my mind does not yet understand. When you stop fighting with the reality of your moment, you release a spiritual energy that was being spent on resentment, and this energy returns to you in the form of clarity. You begin to see exits that were previously invisible right in front of you. The second thing is to rebuild your prayer. And when I say rebuild, I am not talking about praying longer or more beautifully. I'm talking about praying truthfully. Take a moment of your day. It could be in the morning before picking up your phone. It could be at night before sleeping, and speak to God as you would speak to your best friend. Without a memorized formula, without difficult words, without theater. Tell Him your pain by name and surname. Speak of the bill that is late. Speak of the name of the child who is worrying you. Speak of the person who hurt you. And then, this is the part many people forget, remain in silence, wait, listen. Because God answers, but He does not shout, He whispers. And if you are making noise all the time, inside and out, you will never hear the voice that changes life. The third thing is to sever spiritual connections that are pulling you down. And here I must be very direct with you. There are people in your life today who drain your soul every time you speak. There are message groups that only cast heaviness, gossip, and despair upon you. There are social media feeds that fill you with comparison and envy without you even realizing it. There is music that reinforces pain instead of healing it. There is content that feeds you fear, scandal, and tragedy. And this builds a dense, heavy, and unclean spiritual atmosphere within you. God is calling you to an inner cleansing. And this cleansing begins with small but firm decisions. Leave the group. Stop following the page. Reduce your time with the toxic person. You do not need to make a scene. You do not need to break away with an explosion. Just distance yourself gradually, create space, and open up a place for what is light to enter your life once again. The fourth thing, and this changes everything in Brazil where we were raised to constantly run, is to rest with purpose. I'm not speaking of laziness, I'm speaking of a sacred pause. The Brazilian body has become ill from so much running. Double shifts, triple workdays, chaotic transport, a home to look after, children to accompany, and still the bills keep coming. We enter a routine where even Sunday is not true rest, because Sunday has become a day to get ahead of what was left over from the week and prepare for the next. What few people understand is that without rest, without silence, without a pause, the soul cannot hear God. It is like trying to read a book inside a rock concert. You may have the book in your hands, but you will absorb nothing. Take a day, or at least a few hours a week, to disconnect from the chaos. Walk. Look at the sky. Eat a calm meal without a cell phone at the table. Talk to someone who loves you. This silence is where God operates with the greatest strength. The fifth thing, and this requires true courage, is to reconcile with someone. There is something unresolved within you, a person you no longer speak to, a sibling you fought with over an inheritance, a friend you cut off entirely, a father or a mother toward whom you harbor secret resentment. And as long as this knot remains within your chest, a portion of the blessings God wishes to pour out remains held back along the way. I am not saying you need to be close to that person again, especially if they are truly toxic, but you must within yourself let it go. To forgive is not to say that the person was right. To forgive is to free yourself from the burden of continuing to carry that story. And when you let go, you open the channel to receive everything that had been dammed up. The sixth thing is to speak blessings over your own life. There are Brazilians who spend the entire day complaining, calling life difficult, saying, "Oh, I cannot do it. Oh, this is not for me. Oh, I have bad luck. Oh, I am not fortunate." And without realizing it, they are decreeing this upon themselves every single day. The mouth has spiritual power. What comes out of your mouth builds or destroys your surroundings. Start speaking differently now. Instead of saying that everything is difficult, say, "Things are tight, but God is at work." Instead of, "I cannot do it," say, "I will succeed in the right time." Instead of, "My life never changes," say, "My life is changing right now, even if I do not see it with my eyes." It may seem like nonsense, but it is an ancient biblical principle. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. The seventh thing, and this is fundamental, is to care for your body as a temple. You do not need to become a gym athlete, but the way you sleep, eat, and move directly affects your spiritual capacity. The Brazilian body has been treated as a rough draft, and this must change. Drink actual water throughout the day. Eat something living every day, a fruit, a vegetable, anything that came straight from the earth. Go to sleep early at least 3 times a week. Walk for 20 minutes. Do this for at least 30 days, and observe the difference in your spiritual clarity, your inner peace, and your capacity to hear what God is saying. The eighth thing is to give something away. It does not have to be money. It can be time, a word of encouragement to those who have fallen, or a warm meal for someone hungry on the street corner. When you give, you break the logic of fear. Fear says, save, hold on, protect, because tomorrow there might be a shortage. And when you give, you tell your own spirit, I trust that God provides, therefore I can share. This releases flow. Everything that flows multiplies. Everything that remains stagnant decays. This applies to water, it applies to money, and it applies to love. And the ninth thing, perhaps the most beautiful of all, is to begin to give thanks for the things that have not yet happened. Give thanks for the healing before it comes. Give thanks for the peace before it arrives. Give thanks for the financial victory before the money enters the account. Give thanks for the restoration of your child before the child returns home. This is not magic. This is faith in action. When you give thanks for what has not yet arrived, you are positioning yourself in the Spirit as one who has already received. And heaven recognizes this posture. Heaven acts upon this posture. But I must be honest with you about one thing before closing this message. None of this will work if you listen to this video, feel inspired, and return to life exactly the same tomorrow. Knowledge without action is like a seed kept in a drawer. It can be the best seed in the world, but if you do not plant it, it dies dry inside. I see this all the time. People who watch dozens of videos, read books, listen to sermons, and their lives remain exactly the same because they never take the first practical step. Today can be different. Today can be the day you decide that you will no longer be a spectator of your own spiritual life, that you will be a true protagonist. Look again at everything you are feeling right now. The weight in your chest, the urge to cry, the sensation that something is stirring inside you in a way you cannot name. This is God drawing near. It is He saying, "I am here, and I am not leaving." The entire heaven is attentive to your decision today. You can choose to close this page, return to the chaos of the routine, and push all of this to later. Or you can choose to respond now with the courage you did not even know you possessed. I believe you are ready. Otherwise, you would not have made it this far. This video only ends for those who have truly been called. And do you know why I insist so much? Because I have seen many good people become ill and die carrying weight they never needed to carry. I have seen men in their early 40s suffer heart attacks working to support a family that barely sees them. I have seen women annul themselves their entire lives to care for others and never receive care in return. I have seen people of sincere faith lose their way because no one arrived in time with the right word. This video is the word that perhaps no one else had the courage to give you. And if it struck your heart today, it is because you are one of those for whom there is still time to save the story. There are those who will watch this video and ignore it. You are not that person. You felt it. You are feeling it right now. Everything that has happened in the last few minutes was by no means a coincidence. The fact that you opened this video, watched it until the end, and felt what you felt is the design of a hand much greater than yours and mine combined. God is handing you a chance today. A chance to rise from the place where you fell and begin again, now with direction and purpose. That is why I have prepared a powerful digital book for you, How to Know If God Will Save You at the Final Judgment. It is waiting for you at the link pinned in the description below and at the top of the comments of this video. Get it today, read it calmly, and let God speak to you through every page written there. Your family needs you to take this step. You need you to take this step. Do not leave it for tomorrow, because tomorrow is sometimes too late. If this message truly touched your heart, comment below, "God is acting in me now," and tell me one thing. What did you feel while watching this video? I read every comment, and I will continue to bring content like this with depth for those who are called. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, leave a like, and help me reach more people who are in need of this word today. May God bless you powerfully, cover you with the mantle of peace, and use you as an instrument in the lives of those who cannot yet see. I will see you in the next video.